Hello, my lovely class. Welcome back to class and welcome to StudyWeb Academy, where education is without limits. Let's continue focusing on our English class, where we're talking about pronouns. So we've looked at what pronouns are, and right now I was taking you through the types of pronouns. We have very many types, and that is what I'm going to be discussing with you. We're going to be talking about these types of pronouns, what they are, their examples, and what they entail. So I've given you examples like the personal pronouns. I've talked about that. I've talked about the possessive pronouns. I've talked about the demonstrative pronouns. I've talked about the relative pronouns, and I was talking about the interrogative pronouns, where I said with the interrogative pronouns they just ask questions. They introduce questions, okay? So for example, the who, whom, whose, which, what, they ask questions. So these are pronouns too. Who do you love? Who is your best friend? What do you want for dinner? Who's your best friend? Or whose shoes is this? Okay, whose shoes is this? Which book do you love? Or which food do you want to eat today? What do you want for dinner? So these are pronouns that just ask questions or prompt us to answer questions. So we have pronouns that are used to ask questions, and that is what we call interrogative pronouns. So these are quite simple and easy. The next type of pronoun is the indefinite pronouns. So with the indefinite pronouns, they refer to a non-specific or a non-people, places, things, or amount. Okay, indefinite, something that is not specific. Okay, so they refer to non-specific or a known places, people, things, or amounts. So when we don't know something, we have a pronoun for them, and we call that indefinite pronouns. Okay, so with the indefinite pronouns, we have examples here like all, both, few, many, none, some, anyone, no one. Okay, so these are pronouns that we don't know the specific details about them. So for example, all students are being called to the staff room. So we don't know how many students. It can be 30, 20, all of them. We don't know the specific amount, okay? When we talk about few students are needed in the staff room, few here represents a small amount, but we don't know what is the specific amount. Is it 2? Is it 5? Okay? So we have another one, anyone. The teacher wants to see anyone in class. Look at that. We don't know who is being talked about. Does she want the class prefect, or does she want a boy, a girl? We don't know who the teacher wants, okay? When we say no one did the assignment, or no one did the activity, the class activity, we don't know what or who is being talked about. Is it me? Is it you? Is it your friend? So you see, we have another one here, someone. Someone has taken my book, or someone has taken my pen. I don't know this someone. I don't know if it's my friend or if it's my neighbor who is sitting next to me. I don't know. So these are pronouns that we call indefinite pronouns. They just don't give us the specific amount or specific information about a person, about a place, or about a thing, or about a specific amount. Okay. So an example here we have, many of the students passed the test. So it's many students that pass the test, but we don't know how many students. We don't know if it is 4 students, 3 students, 5 students. We don't know the amount of students, or the number of students. We don't know the number of students. That's the right English, not amount. Amount is used for substances, okay? So maybe an amount of sugar, amount of salt, okay? But when we talk about students, we talk about the many, okay? We don't know how many students pass the test, okay? Then we have someone is knocking at the door. We don't know who is knocking. Maybe it's your uncle, maybe it's your aunt. So someone is knocking. It's just anyone random, okay? So they're called indefinite pronouns. So don't forget about that. And we have all, both, few, many, none, someone, anyone, no one. These are the examples of the indefinite pronouns we have. Let's look at the other example here. We have reciprocal pronouns. Reciprocal pronouns. Reciprocal pronouns. So with these pronouns, they are used to show actions or feelings which is reciprocated between 2 or more people. So I know this one is not common, and I know most of us haven't heard about it, but it's another example of the pronouns. So with these pronouns, they just show feelings or actions that are reciprocated. When we talk about reciprocated, is something that what I do to you, you also do to me. Okay, so for example, each other, one another. Look at that, we hug each other, so it's something we did, both of us. I hugged her and she hugged me. Okay, we love one another. Okay, we love each other. Look at that, so I love her and they love and she loves me back. Okay, so don't forget about that. They're called reciprocal pronouns, whereby an action or a feeling is being reciprocated. Okay, so they're called reciprocal pronouns. Don't forget about that. It's an example, or it's a type of a pronoun that is not so common, but we have examples here like each other, one another. They stole from each other. So one stole from the other and the other one stole from the other one. Okay, so they stole from each other. It's something that is being reciprocated. What is being done to one person has been done to, when someone has done something to me, also do the same back. So that is called reciprocal. Even in maths, maybe you've heard the term reciprocals, or you're yet to hear about it, but don't worry, it just means doing an action that has been done to you. Okay, so that is another type, and it's not that common, but it's a type you should know about. There are very many types, and the other type is called reflexive pronouns. Now with these pronouns, they're used when the subject and the object in a sentence are the same. So the subject here and the object are the same. You're talking about the same person or the same thing. Okay, so when the subject and the pronoun are the same, we call them reflexive pronouns. So they emphasize that an action is done by a subject itself. So for example, even itself here, I've already used a reflexive pronoun. So like I told you, when you speak, when you talk, sometimes we use these pronouns, but we don't know. So even my sentence here, they emphasize that the action has been done by the subject itself. Look at that. Itself is also a reflexive pronoun. So let me just empower you more on this. When we talk about reflexive pronouns, they're just pronouns that are used when the subject and the object are the same. So for example, we have examples here like myself, yourself, himself, herself, herself, I've talked about that, himself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. So you notice that this one they used to emphasize that an action has been done by someone by themselves. So for example, she washed herself. So she washed these dishes or clothes, whatever she washed, but she did it herself. She didn't use or she didn't get help from anyone else, but she did all this by herself. Okay, so she washed herself. So she did this action by herself, no one else did it. So it's how did the action. Another example is they prepared the meal by themselves. So the students or the cooks or whoever prepared this meal did it by themselves. Okay, even I've used themselves here. So they prepared the meal themselves. No one else helped them. If it is the students who prepared the meal, they did it by themselves. No one else helped them. They didn't get a hand or any help from anyone. So those are called reflexive pronouns. They just use when the subject and the objects are the same. Okay, so for example, you will do your exam yourself. No one else will be there to judge you or to help you do the exam, but you will do the exam yourself. So yourself here becomes a reflexive pronoun. Okay, then that's the last step I'll talk about. Then lastly, under types, I'll just say that what we've talked about are basically the main types of pronouns in English, each serving a specific purpose in communication. Understanding and using them correctly is fundamental for effective writing and speaking. So I talked about that. We have to understand them and use them effectively when we're speaking. So not only understanding, but also using these pronouns. Okay, so right now, after looking at all these types, I will look at we'll look at a few measures here, and we'll look at from these types that we've looked at, we will majorly pick some from them and deeply focus on them. So the first one is personal pronouns. So we're going to be looking at the personal pronouns in depth. Okay, we're going to be analyzing them and just knowing what these personal pronouns are. So basically, personal pronouns, like I said, they are words that replace specific nouns or noun phrases in a sentence, making language more effective by avoiding unnecessary repetition. So these pronouns I just used to replace nouns or noun phrases, okay? So for example, mother, father, all these nouns can be replaced, and that is what we call personal pronouns, okay? They are very, very important components of grammar and communication in English. So we have, I talked about the personal pronouns can be based, or they're based on the person, okay? So the person who is speaking or the person who is doing this action. So that is how we will know our pronouns. So we have first person, second person, or third person, okay? So these personal pronouns, they're based on the person and the number and the gender. Look at that. So for you to understand personal pronouns, you have to understand the person who is speaking, okay? Then the number and the gender. So when you talk about the person who is speaking, is it the person, the first person? Is it the second person? Is it the third person? We'll talk about that, don't worry. When you talk about the number, is it one person talking or a lot of people talking? So is it singular or plural, okay? When you talk about gender, is it masculine? Is it feminine? Or is it neuter, okay? So when you talk about masculine, is it a boy? Feminine, is it a girl, okay? So that is on gender. So for you to understand personal pronouns, you have to know those three. Who is this person speaking? Is it the first person, second person, or third person? And then after that, is it one person or there are a lot of people, okay? So that is according to number, how many people are doing this action, okay? Then lastly, the gender. So that is, those are the three things we have to look at when we want to understand personal pronouns. So let's begin with the first person pronoun. So the first person pronoun refers to the speaker of, or the speaker. It refers to the speaker or the speaker. So the person is speaking. For example, right now I'm the one who's speaking. So I'm the first pronoun here, okay? The first person pronoun. You are listening. So you are the first person pronoun there, okay? So the first person pronoun refers to the speaker, okay? It's you who is speaking. They indicate who is speaking, okay? So whoever is talking, or the subject is the person, is the speaker. So we have examples here in singular again. So we have, like I said, we have singular and plural when you talk about pronouns. So for example, in singular, I am going to the store. I am teaching. So I here, I becomes the subject pronoun, and it's in singular because it's just one person. It's just me, okay? When I said she's called me, she's called me, or she has called me, okay? She called me. Sorry, I said the sentence wrongly. So the sentence is she called me. She called me. Who was called? It's me. She didn't call a lot of people, okay? She just called me, okay? So we have that example again. She called me. It's a singular first person pronoun. Then we have myself. When you talk about myself, I can do it myself. I can read myself. That is another first person pronoun. So that is, when you notice about this pronoun, it's just the speaker, the person who is speaking. It refers to the speaker. That's the only way to understand personal pronouns, okay? Then we have them in plural. So instead of saying I am cooking, when we are a lot of people cooking, we'll say we are cooking, or we are studying for the test, okay? So again, it's the speaker speaking, sorry, but they're in plural, okay? So we becomes the subject here, okay? They invited us to the party. They invited us to the party. Us is a first person pronoun, but in plural. It's talking about us, but in plural, okay? Then the next one we have, we cleaned the rooms ourselves, or we cleaned the room ourselves. Ourselves here is the personal pronoun too. It's no one else but us. We cleaned the room by ourselves, okay? So don't forget that about personal pronouns. So that's the first part. When we talk about the personal pronoun, we have the first person pronouns, and that is the speaker. So we have both in plural and singular. Okay, so we've looked at plural, and plural we have I, me, and myself. When you look at the plural, the singular again, I confused this. The singular, we're talking about I, me, and myself. These are personal or first person pronouns, but in singular. When you look at them in plural, we have we, us, and ourselves. They're first person pronouns, but in singular form. Okay, don't forget about that. So that's the first person pronoun. Then next we'll look at the second person pronoun. The second person pronoun here is the second pronoun or used to address the person or the people you're speaking to. or speaking about.